What's going on, everybody? I got a good question the other day on one of those Instagram Q&A things, and it was one that would take a little bit longer to go through than just the few seconds you get on an Instagram story, so I decided to do it on here. Throwing it back today with my Lipscomb hat. If anybody doesn't know, I played college baseball, and baseball's a big reason why I got into weightlifting in the first place, and then found my love for bodybuilding through that. So just a side note about me there. The question that I got was about body types and body type diets. What's my opinion on them? How can that maybe be applied to bodybuilding or lifestyle or fitness goals in general? And so I just wanted to dive into that a little bit. So there are three main body type categories, and I didn't come up with these. I'm not actually even sure who did, but it's just kind of been around for a while, and people, will group themselves into one of these three categories, and those three are Endomorph, Ectomorph, and Mesomorph. So just a quick rundown. Endomorph is going to be somebody that carries more body fat. It's going to be bigger, have maybe a hard time losing fat, losing weight, but might be able to put on some muscle pretty easily, and that sort of thing. Mesomorph is going to be somewhere in the middle, more athletic body type, typically going to be assumed to be more genetically gifted for bodybuilding and most sports because of a favorable body composition and an ability, excuse me, to kind of do both, whether that's, both as in losing fat, putting on muscle, sort of where you want to land as an athlete. So that's those are the two of them. There's one more. It's going to be your Ectomorph. Ectomorph is going to be somebody that's typically a little bit leaner, a little bit skinnier, for lack of a better term. Has a hard time putting on weight, but stays pretty lean most of the time. So then they've prescribed different diets for different body types, and in a way it makes a little bit of sense, but I don't think it's a good idea to pigeonhole yourself into only a certain strategy for achieving your fitness goals. There are some foundational principles that come along with nutrition that don't change no matter what your body shape or type or metabolic capacity or whatever is, right? And some of those are, you need a certain number of protein to put on or maintain muscle. And that's no matter what your body looks like or what shape you start from or whatever. So that doesn't change no matter what your body type category is. And so that's pretty standard. The other thing is that you need fuel to live and fuel to exercise and fuel to function, fuel for your brain. So no matter what your body type is, you still need, carbs to exercise. And you still need fats for different health purposes, hormonal function, those types of things. And so, the macronutrients are still going to play a role in your body, regardless of, where you fall. And so just a side note on the body types, it's not as simple as I'm 1, 2, or 3, or I'm one of these three. It's a spectrum, right? So like somebody might be extremely, ectomorphic, and they're just like, super, super skinny. I'm trying to think of examples like, I don't know. I was going to say the Joker from Joaquin Phoenix's version, but that was like a drugged out, sick version. So that's a different thing. But some people just naturally will stay skinny, right? And it's just part of it. Obviously you can fight against that with training and nutrition and supplements and that kind of thing, but that's kind of where you're predisposed. But just because you're predisposed to be one thing or the other, on that spectrum, doesn't mean you can't change some things, within certain ranges. So, if you are an ectomorph, you can find ways to increase your appetite, to eat in a surplus, to train really hard, take supplements, maybe take anabolics, whatever, and, push past some of those limitations genetically that you're predisposed to. Same with an endomorph, right? So if somebody's, predisposed to hold more fat, store more fat, obviously there are strategies to lose fat, and you can be a little more aggressive with some of those if necessary. So, it's not a good idea to pigeonhole yourself into any of these categories. And, if you're mesomorph, maybe that's a good idea to believe that, because, a lot lot of things will work for you, and you can, push the limits on muscle gain, fat loss, athleticism, those things, because you are, in the ideal, quote unquote, ideal category there. So I think a lot of the suggestions, from my understanding of it, is that, an endomorph is going to need less carbs, an ectomorph needs way more carbs, and then a mesomorph can kind of get away with a moderate balance of nutrition strategies. And, what I would say to that is you don't know really what you're capable of until you push things. And what I mean by that is if you want to put on muscle, but you think you're skinny, try, put forth the effort, get your nutrition consistent and under control, and make, train really hard, recover really hard, and, see what you're capable of, because no matter where you start, you don't know how your body's going to respond until you try. And not only should you try something, but once you try something else, and give it plenty of time. If you're trying to lose fat and you start out at X number of calories, with your protein set and whatever, then, your body doesn't budge. You stay, the same composition you are. Okay, well then try something a little different. And by different, I mean just progress, right? So take away a little more food, maybe do a little more activity, take some more steps, more cardio, maybe some high intensity training if that's your thing, or if you can recover from it. So figure out where you are on that spectrum and then push the limits. You can absolutely transform, from one part of the spectrum to the other if you put on enough muscle, build your metabolism to a certain place. If you think you're an endomorph, or you seem to be an endomorph, and you diet down and get to a certain body fat level, and then you're happy there, and then you reverse diet and you stay pretty close to that, then do you even look like an endomorph anymore? Probably not. So, that's a different way to look at it. So anytime that, somebody tells you there's one way to do things, whether that's, for your body type or not, or whether it's, there's only one way to accomplish a goal in fitness, then you should definitely be a little skeptical of that. Like I said, there are some foundational principles, and those, are going to be varied a little based on each person's genetics and their body type. I say body type in the sense that everyone's a little different, but not that we're, specifically pigeonholed into categories. So, don't let something that someone says on the internet, or that somebody came up with to maybe sell something or sell a program or whatever, don't let that hold you back from pursuing whatever goals you have, just because maybe you're not, or it doesn't seem like you're predisposed to, whatever that is. So like if you're, like I said, if you're an ectomorph and you're worried about not being able to put on muscle, don't give up on it just because you feel like you're too skinny. If you look at most of the pro bodybuilders that are huge, at some point they were skinny kids, right? Like they, or maybe they were chubby kids or whatever, but now they're giant monsters with lots of muscle and very little body fat. So, find a program, stick to it, be consistent. Once you feel like your results have stalled after a reasonable amount of time, then make some changes and then be consistent and try that for a while. So that's my take on that. I think the biggest summary that I would leave you guys with is, nothing's absolute. There's a lot of different ways to do things. The only real way to figure out what's going to be best is to try and be consistent and stick with something for a while. Probably at least 6 to 8 weeks, probably longer, depending on what you're trying to do. And then see what happens, and then, make adjustments, and, hire a coach, right? Like as coaches, we see, gosh, I've seen so many different body types. I've had some people prep in 8 weeks and, not have to do, maybe they'll do some cardio or whatever, a good bit of cardio just for that little brief amount of time. And then they look like somebody else that I've had who's had to diet half a year or something. So, hire a coach who has some experience with different body types, and, and maybe not even experience, but just understands that, you have to keep progressing to, or keep changing and adapting the plan to, keep the physique progressing. So just hire a coach that understands that. It doesn't have to be somebody that's done a, ton of coaching or whatever, but, it is important to understand that it's, that you have to keep going with things, or keep trying things, or at least be consistent and then try something new or adjust or whatever. So, that's the biggest thing is don't sell yourself short, put in the effort, see what happens. Once you feel like you've stalled, make some adjustments, and then just keep plugging along. Like I said, if you're if you don't know where to start or what to do, hire a coach. I'd be happy to work with you. Feel free to reach out to me. But don't waste a bunch of time if you don't know what you're doing, because then you will get frustrated and eventually probably give up. So appreciate you guys sticking with this one. Hopefully it made sense. I always feel like these are a little bit rambly, but maybe not. Feel free to comment below, questions, anything that you think I said that was stupid or that you liked or whatever. Subscribe, like, and I very much appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time.